From Manila to the globe, this is World Newsfeed, bringing you the biggest stories shaping our times. Good morning, I'm Raine Musñgi. Let's dive into the headlines making a global impact. We begin with updates on severe tropical storm Kristine. At least 7 people have been confirmed dead in the Philippines. Due to tropical storm Kristine, 7 people are missing and 4 more were injured as the storm with international name Trami unleashed heavy rains and flooding across several regions, causing widespread damage and mass evacuations. The Social Welfare Department says some 3.3 million people have been affected by the storm. Meanwhile, officials say the provinces most affected are in the Visayas and southern Luzon, where floodwaters have reached dangerous levels. Rescue efforts are underway to reach those trapped by floodwaters. With more rain expected in the coming days, authorities have warned of possible landslides and further flooding. The storm has damaged key infrastructure, including roads and bridges, making rescue operations even more difficult. Kristine is the 18th tropical cyclone to hit the Philippines this year, underscoring the vulnerability of the region to severe weather events. And for an update on the situation of communities in Rizal, Occidental Mindoro, we have on the line Municipal Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Officer in Charge, Jolens Soriano. Jolens, hi, good morning po.
Good morning po.
Hi. Kumusta po kayo dyan? Has there been any declaration po or recommendation for the declaration of a state of calamity in your area?
So far po, hindi pa po nag-declare dahil hindi naman po ganun ka-damage ang amin pong munisipyo. So far po, 2 barangay lamang po yung aming affected dahil po sila ay mga malalapit po sa dagat, sa mga shoreline po sila.
So affected po sila doon. Ilan pong mga katao yung apektado?
Meron po kaming evacuees na 39 families. So bali 163 individuals po yun, yung mga nasa evacuation center. At meron din po kaming mga outside evacuation center. So meron po kaming 72 families, 79 families po. So bali 277 individuals po yung nasa outside evacuation center po namin. At meron din po kaming damaged houses, 28 damaged houses po. Meron po kaming 138 families po.
Opo, meron po ba kayong nahanap na either fatality or injured dyan sa area ninyo?
Awa ng Diyos ay wala naman pong mga ganong mga injured. Wala rin po kaming mga casualties talagang recorded.
O nawawalang tao?
Wala naman po.
What about the current weather there, ma'am? What is the state also of the water, power, and mobile services?
So far po, medyo kita na po yung araw ngayon. At wala naman pong ngayon. May kuryente naman po. Stable naman po ang kuryente ngayon. So wala naman pong baha.
In-expect niyo po ba na ang mga evacuees ay pauuwiin na anytime soon?
Medyo hindi pa rin po namin masyadong pinapabalik kasi ay nag-aantabay pa rin po kami. Baka sasama pa rin po yung panahon para safe pa rin po sila kasi po yung mga bahay po nila ay affected talaga. Hindi na rin po sila safe doon.
Opo. So ibig sabihin, yung tutulungan sila na mag-rebuild ng kanilang mga bahay at evacuate yung mga tubig naman na nandun?
So far po ay hindi pa po namin pinapangako sa kanila ng ganon. So ang binibigay pa lamang po naming assistance, food assistance, mga ganon pa lamang po, mga hygiene kit, yun pa lang po yung binibigay namin sa kanila.
Kumusta po yung mga food packs at hygiene kits dyan? Abot po ba sa haba ng kanilang itatagal dyan?
So far po, ang barangay at munisipyo po ay nagbigay na rin po sa kanila.
Opo. Yung mga daanan na may mga roads and bridges po ba tayo na impassable po?
Hindi naman po affected yung mga roads po namin dito.
And finally, do you have a tally of the amount of damage siguro po sa infrastructure or agriculture dyan sa area po?
So far po, wala pa po kami sa agri. So sa infra naman po ay hindi pa rin po namin ma-estimate kung yung mga bahay po na nasira ay hindi pa rin po namin na-estimate kung mga ilan po talaga ang mga damage.
Hopefully, maka-rebuild naman po yung mga 28 families na apektado dun sa mga nasira mga bahay. Maraming salamat po. Thank you so much for sharing with us your update on severe tropical storm Kristine, MDR RMO Rizal in Occidental Mindoro, OIC, Jolen Soriano. Magandang umaga po.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Well, Pangasinan is among the areas severely affected by severe tropical storm Kristine. Our Hannah T filed this report.
Skies are clear now in Batangas City, but travelers we spoke to here in Batangas Port say that there are still plenty of stranded passengers who stayed here overnight due to rescheduled trips. However, some were told that they would get to travel this afternoon. We are still waiting for official reports from the Philippine Ports Authority. But in Batangas province overall, 22,900 individuals are affected by Kristine, according to disaster officials. Some areas continue to suffer from power outages, and rescue operations are ongoing due to flooding and landslides in various areas. At the Batangas City Sports Center, there are 125 evacuees from Barangay 2, 3, and Santa Clara. The residents we spoke to say they experienced floods and had to evacuate. A Barangay Santa Clara resident recalled the water was knee-deep where she lived. Like in most evacuation centers, partition tents are provided to each family. Food is also served 3 times a day.
And that was BNC's Agatha Gregorio reporting to us from Batangas. Meanwhile, signal number 2 remains hoisted over Aurora province. Francis Falves sent in this report.
The weather here has improved a lot since yesterday. Floods have subsided and evacuees returned to their houses. Evacuees from affected 7 barangays were allowed to go back to their houses since late last night. According to the Aurora PDRRMO, the towns heavily hit by Kristine are Dilasag and Casiguran because they are the closest to the eye of the storm. In the whole province, some 3,892 families or 12,116 individuals evacuated. These are from the municipalities of Dingalan, Baler, Dilasag, Dinaluan, Dipaculaw, San Luis, and Casiguran. They have yet to give an estimate damage to the crops since most of the rice fields and other crops were submerged in water and heavily affected by strong winds from yesterday. Today, affected residents will start to clean the remnants of the storm Kristine.
For an update on the situation of communities in Laguna province, we have on the line Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office Head Aldwin Sejo. Mr. Sejo, good morning po.
Good morning po, Raine, and to all your viewers.
Can you give us an update, sir, if there has been any declaration of a state of calamity in your area?
As of the moment, we are planning to convene the Provincial DRM Council by Monday to discuss the effects of Typhoon Kristine. As of now, we have 18 LGUs of the province of Laguna affected by the typhoon. And we have, based on the disaster response operations management, information and communication with the state of the FWD, the number of barangay affected are 281 out of 681, pero posibleng tumaas pa yan, ongoing pa po ang aming data gathering. And inside the evacuation center, we have 472 na families. We are planning to organize the relief operations today para naman po masuportahan namin yung bawat bayan, nabigyan ng food ang mga kababayan natin sa bawat evacuation center. And hopefully, maging maayos po lahat. At tuloy-tuloy naman po yung paglilinis sa mga kababayan. Naklirin na naman po ang mga kalsada. Unfortunately, there are some areas na hindi pa rin po madaanan ng mga light vehicles dahil may mga baha pa po.
So, ibig sabihin, meron pa rin pong mga flooded areas. Can you identify for us which roads or bridges remain impassable, please?
Areas of Mabitak and Fani Road, National Road po ito ng Mabitak and Fani. Then dito po sa municipality of Santa Cruz, there are areas na hindi pa rin po makapenetrate dito sa barangay Bubukak ng bayan ng Santa Cruz.
So meaning, are we waiting for the flood waters to recede in those areas before we can reach any potential residents who may have been affected by the floods?
Yes, ma'am, itong mga kalsadang ito ay hopefully mag-subside na ang tubig dito. Dahil ito, kalapit ang lawa ito. Correction, hindi po ito barangay Bibukal, barangay Gatid. Maliit po ang mga canals dito. Kaya hindi rin kagad mabawasan yung tubig sa kalsada. Kaya yung mga nandiyan ho sa area na yan ay nasa evacuation center. Pero posible po yung mga nasa evacuation center later this afternoon, makauwi na ho sila dahil maganda na rin ang panahon. Okay. And ito pong pag-clear din ng canals ay tuloy-tuloy na ginagawa ng Barangay Drain Committees and Barangay Drain Council ng Mount Maya.
Understood. Mr. Sejo, meron po ba mga na-report na namatay din sa area ninyo? Are there any fatalities or casualties, injuries, missing persons? Mr. Sejo?
Reported sa na casualties, any casualties dito sa lalawigan ng Laguna. Pero yun na po, ongoing pa rin ang pagkuha namin ng report dahil nagkaroon ng power outage dito sa lalawigan ng Laguna. But almost all ng reported sa amin na nagkaroon ng power outage ay restored na rin naman.
Gaano katagal po yung power outage? And what about yung water po tsaka mobile services?
From Monday po, may reported na sa amin ng power outages. Pero gradually, re-restore na naman ito. But yung ibang lugar po ay nakakaranas pa rin ng walang linya ng kuryente dahil may natumbang poste, may natumbang puno na nasira po yung linya ng kuryente. Kaya sinasaayos po ito ngayon. And pagdating naman po sa water outages, wala naman pong reported. Kung sakasakali man, meron naman po kami water mobile purifier na po pwede i-deploy namin sa iba't ibang lugar para makapagbigay tulong sa mga kababayan. Dahil napakahirap po.
Yes, sir. Yung support niyo po dun sa evacuees, enough po ba yung mga food packs at mga hygiene kits for as long as they are going to be there, especially if there are flooded areas and some homes had been flooded through and hindi sila kagad makabalik sa kanilang mga bahay?
Sa ngayon po, sapat naman po ang aming stockpile. And salamat din po sa Department of Social Welfare and Development na nag-maintain sila na 5,000 family food packs na pwede na namin i-distribute sa lahat ng evacuation center. And kung magtatagal naman po ito, tuloy-tuloy naman po ang aming repacking. Katulong namin ng mga volunteers. Kaya papasalamat po kami sa mga volunteers and team council ng lalawigan ng Laguna para po maibigay talaga yung tulong na kailangan ng mga constituents namin dito sa lalawigan.
Sir, sakali po na meron silang pinag-uusapan na isa pang LPA, no? Tapos malamang pwede pong mag-mix sa kabilang area in a Fujiwara effect, itong severe tropical storm Kristine, kaya po ba ng Laguna na suportahan ng mga residente na posible maging apektado dun sa mga weather systems na iyon?
Opo, we are praying po na hindi magkaroon ng Fujiwara effect itong bagyong ito. Pero kung sakasakali man, nakahanda naman po ang lalawigan ng Laguna. Still activated po ang incident management Operation Center for proper coordination kung ano yung kailangan ng bawat bayan. Kaya naka-area command po kami. Kami yung area commander and kung ano yung needs and kailangan ng mga kababayan namin in terms of human resources and material resources. Ipo-provide naman po yan through proper coordination. Hindi po kakayanin ng aming probinsya. Nandiyan man po ang regional BRM council para i-provide ang kailangan ng mga communities na posibleng maapektuhan. Huwag naman po sana. Kasi sakali, kailangan naka-ready naman po kami.
Finally, sir, meron po ba kayong initial estimate on the damage to infrastructure and agriculture in the province of Laguna?
At the moment, wala pa kong i-provide. Ongoing po ang assessment and evaluation ng aming provincial engineer's office pagdating sa infrastructure in terms of agricultural sector naman po sa damages. Hinintay namin ang report from our provincial agricultural office para po may sama namin sa report na i-discuss namin with the council and makita kung yung damages and report affected population ay pasok sa criteria to declare state of calamity.
Alright, patuloy po kami makikibalita mula sa inyo sa Laguna, PDRRMO Head of Laguna, Aldwin Seo. Thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate your updates, sir.
Maraming salamat po, Ms.
Ingat po kayo dyan. And news from around the world in the next part of the show. Keep updated on World Newsfeed. Welcome back. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has delivered a dire warning. The world is paying a terrible price for its failure to address the climate crisis. In a strongly worded statement at the United Nations Climate Change Conference, Guterres highlighted the escalating costs of inaction. He noted that climate-related disasters have cost the global economy $2.5 trillion since 2000, devastating lives and livelihoods, particularly in vulnerable communities. The report said current policies are pushing the world toward a catastrophic 3.1 degrees Celsius temperature rise by the end of the century, hot air that people and planet cannot afford more of. The reports also pointed to emissions being equivalent to record sea temperatures, biblical floods, supercharged monster hurricanes, and massive forest fires.
COP29 starts the clock for countries to deliver new National Climate Action Plans, or NDCs, by next year. Governments have agreed to align these plans with 1.5 degrees. That means they must drive down all greenhouse gases emissions and cover the whole economy, pushing progress in every sector. And they must wean us off our fossil fuel addiction, showing how governments will phase them out fast and fairly, and contributing to global goals to accelerate renewables rollout and halt the reverse deforestation. The largest economies, the G20 members, responsible for around 80% of all emissions, must lead.
Well, Spain is stepping up its commitment to global poverty reduction, pledging 400 million euros or $433 million to the World Bank's International Development Association Fund. It represents a 37% increase over the previous International Development Association replenishment cycle, where the fund provides critical support to the world's poorest countries. Spanish Economy Minister Carlos Cuerpo made the announcement ahead of the December 6th pledging conference, where World Bank President Ajay Banga is targeting a $120 billion replenishment. Spain has also added contingency clauses to its official loans that give countries the option to pause debt service payments in the event of natural disasters and food or health crises. Global leaders are gathering in Paris this week, pressing for an urgent ceasefire and humanitarian aid to support Lebanon amid escalating tensions. The Middle Eastern nation is grappling with a political and economic crisis that has left millions in poverty, and France is leading efforts to rally support. While international donors remain committed, there is still frustration over Lebanon's lack of political reform. Lebanese caretaker Prime Minister Najib Mikati says international support will be needed to shore up and expand Lebanon's army and rebuild the country's destroyed infrastructure.
The sequence of the stability equation is: first, an immediate ceasefire; second, full implementation of UN Security Council Resolution 1701; third, deployment of 8,000 Lebanese Army Forces soldiers south of the Litani; fourth, resume the diplomatic efforts to address disputes along the Blue Line in order to reach a deal that can secure long and sustainable stability in South Lebanon.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says he expects negotiators to meet soon to discuss a ceasefire in Gaza. Blinken made the remarks during a press conference in Doha, stating that talks between Israel, Hamas, and other key parties could occur in the coming days. The ongoing conflict has resulted in thousands of casualties, with both sides suffering heavy losses. International pressure is mounting for a ceasefire to allow humanitarian aid to reach civilians caught in the fighting.
We had an opportunity today to talk about the way forward on the effort to bring the hostages home and to get a ceasefire. Partly this involves an assessment of exactly where Hamas stands in the wake of the death of Sinwar. We talked about that. We talked about options to capitalize on this moment and next steps to move the process forward. And I anticipate that our negotiators will be getting together in the coming days.
The Qatari government meanwhile reacted to claims by Israel that Al Jazeera reporters were Gaza militants. The media network condemned the allegations as unfounded.
Al Jazeera, they are running at the highest international standards, and they are going to, if there are any premises to these accusations, that they are going to take care of the measures that's needed for their journalists. But also we need to know that we learned throughout this war that we cannot take those accusations of Israel for face value.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is making a strong statement about the future of the BRICS alliance, urging the bloc not to turn into an anti-West group as it expands. Speaking at a recent summit, Modi stressed that BRICS should focus on cooperation and inclusivity rather than positioning itself as a counterweight to Western powers. Bloomberg reports the Indian leader is pushing for BRICS to be seen as a force for global development rather than a political rival to Western powers. With its growing influence, BRICS is expected to play a bigger role in global finance and trade. It includes Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, and has been expanding its influence globally, with recently added members including Argentina and Saudi Arabia. Modi's comments come amid growing geopolitical tensions, particularly between the U.S. and China. Russian President Vladimir Putin has said it is Russia's decision how to implement its partnership with North Korea. During a press conference in Moscow, Putin stressed that Russia would determine the scope and nature of its collaboration with Pyongyang, especially after reports of recent meetings between the two countries' leaders. The remarks come amid concerns from Western powers over the growing strategic alignment between Russia and North Korea, especially in military and economic sectors. This includes reports of possible weapons sales and cooperation in space technology.
Regarding our relations with the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, as you know, our Strategic Partnership Treaty was ratified today. There is Article 4 in it. We never doubted the leadership of North Korea treats our agreements seriously. But what we will do and how will we do it is up to us. We are in touch with our North Korean friends, and we will see how this process develops.
As sanctions continue to be levied against both countries, the Russia-North Korea partnership is seen as a pivotal piece in Putin's efforts to strengthen his global alliances. Meanwhile, a balloon from North Korea carrying propaganda leaflets and trash exploded over the South Korean presidential office. While no injuries were reported, this incident adds to a string of unsettling actions from Pyongyang as diplomatic efforts remain stalled. The balloon, believed to be a part of Pyongyang's ongoing campaign to disrupt and intimidate South Korea, scattered trash and messages over the highly secured area. The South Korean government immediately condemned the incident, calling it a provocation. This comes amid heightened tensions on the Korean peninsula following a series of military drills and weapon tests by the North. Meanwhile, former President Donald Trump vows to fire special counsel Jack Smith if he wins the 2024 election. Speaking at a campaign rally in Iowa, Trump labeled Smith a partisan attack dog and accused him of leading what he called a witch hunt against him. Trump faces multiple federal indictments and has used his legal troubles as a central part of his campaign message, claiming the charges are politically motivated to hinder his 2024 presidential bid. Meanwhile, in a show of strength for the Democratic ticket, both music icons Beyoncé and Bruce Springsteen will join Vice President Kamala Harris at a high-profile campaign rally next week. The event is expected to draw massive crowds and galvanize support, especially among young voters and communities of color. Springsteen, who has long been associated with working-class Americans, is seen as a key figure in energizing rural and blue-collar Democrats. Now, with both megastars on board, Democrats are making a strong push to reach voters in key swing states. The event is part of a wider strategy to drive engagement among diverse communities ahead of the 2024 elections. In related news, we have hundreds of Black students in North Carolina marching to the polls this week, energizing the youth vote and emphasizing the importance of civic participation.
I definitely think that Kamala is definitely a person that is here for people that look like me. I think she's definitely there for other HBCU students, whether you're at a university or a community college. She definitely sees that you're trying. She definitely sees the importance of you being out here. And I think she's definitely going to be able to keep us moving forward and keep us in the light.
To each his own. Me personally, I can't support from statements that he's previously made, the accusations upon him as well. It's not something I support. I don't support a felon or anything like that. I'm not going to get into his charges, but y'all know it. I don't support that. So to each his own. If you feel like that's your man, then ride for him. But that's not who I would want representing me.
When people vote, it changes the dynamic of who can assume they're automatically going to get elected. In the South, there's been something called the Southern strategy to block and to undermine the vote, where the South has to rise anew. And young brothers like this and all these young folk are key to this. The largest swing vote in the country are young students, college students, and poor and low wealth individuals.
That's all for now. Thank you so much for joining us. Catch up with us again next week at 10 when we bring you the world in 30 minutes only on World Newsfeed. Follow the Money comes next.